So without further ado, it's already 109. Today's webinar is actually a very special webinar to have a one-on-one on with our world champion, Puan Shalin Zulkifli. So actually, we were supposed to hold this seminar at my office 1 month ago, and it was meant to discuss about players' contracts, players' rights, sponsorship issues, and I think many people may not realize that Puan Shalin is actually the chairman of the Athletes Commission, chairperson of the Athletes Commission in OCM. So she's effectively the president of all athletes in Malaysia for now. So well done. Congratulations to you, Shalin.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah. So today, before we start, I'm just going to let Shalin maybe speak for a short while about her past, her future, what she plans to do. We all know Shalin as a national bowler, world champion, multiple gold medal winner. So today, she'll just share a little bit. Then later on, we only have 2-3 topics we'll discuss because it's meant to be a casual discussion. One will be the impact on this COVID-19 on professional athletes like you in terms of contracts and sponsorship. What do you see the impact? And also maybe on that point, you may want to discuss about the ha athlete being a president of the chairperson of the commission. And then next one, we'll talk about the impact on tournaments. So you've seen so far, the second issue is what the impact on tournaments, And then we'll probably end with a short chat about doping. I think we must always send positive message, to stop doping, and coming from you would be good. So we do a short one, and then we do a Q&A after that. I'm sure later some people want to pose some questions. Okay?
Okay, yeah, sure.
So, without further ado, can I introduce to you all Puan Shalin Zulkifli? Maybe you can share a little bit about your past, how you came to become a bowler, and maybe you can share with us your most significant moment in your career so far. All yours, Shalin.
Okay. For those that do not know me, my name is Shalin Zulkifli, and I'm a national bowler. I've been bowling since I was 9. I joined the national team, represented the country since I was 13. Now I'm 42. So do the math. So yeah, it's been a long journey. I've been quite fortunate to get success at an early age. I won my first national championship, adults, when I was 14, and I was the youngest until today. I've managed to win like 5 world championships. I think I've won overall maybe about 100 or so medals for the country. Yeah, because of the duration that I've been involved in the sport, and I've been fortunate enough to to be able to do well from a young age. So that's why I've won a lot of medals. But yeah, so I started my first big major competition was the SEA Games in '93 in Singapore. I got spotted in the Sukma in Johor by my then coach Alan. So he picked me to join the national junior and also the adults team at that time. So I was the youngest, yeah. And now I'm the oldest in the team. So gone through that phase, yeah. But it's still interesting. I still like it. I still love what I do, because you always have to improve yourself, as in everything else that we do. I've gone through different stages in bowling, where last time I started with a plastic ball, now and urethane and reactive, and now with all the R&D and everything in the bowling world, yeah, you have to adapt and change your game according to the environment around you. So yeah.
Yeah, well done. Can I also ask this, Shalin? Like you said, you've been around for a long time already. Can you share with us roughly? I know there's no, maybe you may not know yourself, but how do you maintain such a remarkable consistency? And there was even a time when you slightly retired and came back, and you won again. So it's remarkable. I just cannot. You are like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods just he's slowing down now.
Just with less money. Unfortunately, bowling is not like golf, but
I like that.
Thank you for the comparison.
Actually, if bowling was a multi-million-dollar sports person, I think
Yeah.
you'll be doing financially much better than you are now.
Yes, yes,
But
definitely,
how,
definitely.
how do you sustain your consistency, Shalin? It's a remarkable, I really respect you. How do you
I
do it?
I don't really know.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Because
Most
like
of
for
you.
me, I have like usually I set goals for myself every year. Okay, like even since I started, okay, this tournament, for example, I have like 5 major tournaments in a year: SEA Games, National Championships, Asian Championship, or whatever. Then I'll set like a target. Okay, for SEA Games, I want to win or be on the podium for a certain number of times. Uh, and I'll look at my previous records. Okay, what did I do? What was my best? So I want to make better achievement the next year, the next time. And I probably had to thank my critics as well, because like every time when someone tells me I can't do something, I'll go out of my way to prove them wrong.
Problem, yeah, yeah.
So that's part of the reason. Like when after I came back from giving birth, after I came back from my surgery, foot and ankle surgery, and yeah, and from like telling me I'm old, I should be out. Then I started to win again. So they kind of like ignite the fire within me to like push myself harder. Besides
Mm.
me, be also having high expectations on myself. Not so much as results, but like I try and think of the process instead of the results, because I believe through my experience, to my triumphs and also my losses, that if you believe in the process and you go through the process, the end result will come. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think from what I've read on elite athletes like you, Charlene, when I read
Mm.
books about football players and top golfers about they go to depression when they don't doing very well. But for the world outside, we look in, we like, wow, she's fantastic. But for an athlete, they do the same thing every day. They're sometimes a bit
Yeah.
drop, depressed, and
Yeah. There's a
about
lot
what
of stories
yeah, a lot of stories. Yeah. So
behind my success. Yeah. One day
yeah,
you might know, if I come out with a book, you'll know all the sad or all the things, because normally, like for me, I'm quite a private person, so I don't really open up every part of my life to everyone. I think you should still have a certain part of your life that's just for you and your family. So yeah, actually, there's a lot of hardships and everything that I've gone through since being in the sport or being an athlete for over 30 years now. Yeah,
yeah, I can
almost three
imagine.
quarter of my life.
Yeah,
Three
I can
quarter of my
imagine.
life as an
I can
athlete. Yeah.
imagine. Yeah, the pain but really, I would implore you. Saya memang kalau boleh lah mempelewa kamu sehabis-habis. Tuliskan buku. Tulis buku. Write a book.
Yeah, sure, sure.
I
Yeah,
will
that's one
buy
of
it.
my that's one of my the things on my bucket list.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think, I mean, I'm quite certain my other friends who do sports business, sports commerce, or even like us lawyers, we would like to read, then we can understand the mind of the athlete, especially when we are advising the athlete, So
Yeah.
it is important.
Yeah, actually that's one of my hobbies besides bowling. Because as you know, I like sports psychology. So one of the things that I do is I collect autobiographies of other athletes. So I try and I read because I want to know how they approach. Because during I had one like really slump after the '98 Commonwealth Games, where they expected me to win gold, but I didn't win gold. I only won silver and bronze. So I was like really down after that, and I almost like retired from the sport because I felt so demoralized. I felt like I let everyone down. But then, I decided to, okay, I should do something, like relook at how things are, because I focus on just the Commonwealth Games after my SPM. I didn't continue my studies. So after the Commonwealth Games, then I was like, okay, no, I need to reshuffle and re-strategize again. So I decided to enroll myself in sport science degree in UM. And it really was one of the best decisions I've made in my life, because like as an athlete, sometimes you're so used to being on site and doing everything. But you don't really have the other perspective, the whole perspective of the picture. So you don't know, sometimes you don't know why you're doing it, why you can't do this, why you can do that. So once I studied the sport science of everything, of movements and everything, nutrition and everything, I got to understand, okay, this is why this happened. So it kind of like put the picture together, because before that I was just one side, just like doing all the physical activity without knowing why I have to do this. So once I studied, it kind of put a bigger picture in my mind. So I had a better understanding of what I need to do and why I need to do it. So like even when I coach sometimes, because we're so used to the old method where, okay, I'm your coach, you must do this. You know, don't ask me why, but you must do this. So like now as a coach, because I also coach, I believe that you must tell them you must do that, but you must also tell them why, because you're not going to be there behind them. Like, for example, like bowling, we have one or two coaches and there's like 12 of us. You can't be behind one single player and just, keep looking at them. You have to teach them to be independent. So that's why, like, when I coach and like, even all our coaches now, because a lot of our national coaches are my ex-teammates. So we kind of bring a different perspective to the coaching scene now, which I think is good. So you, as an athlete, also you need to learn to be independent. You can't just rely on every single one person to help you do this, because if you see all the good athletes, the world Olympic medalists and everything, they know they set themselves, okay, I need to do this, whether your coach tells you or not, he's still going to do it, but maybe what the coach says just as a reminder to him, but he still has his own plan. You don't have to like, okay, I don't know, can you tell me what I have to do now? You can't be that kind of athlete anymore if you want to succeed, I believe.
Well, I say, so interesting, Shalin. Listening to you is like, wow, I think many of us, we only see you on the podium,
And then I've been off the podium quite a few times because enough to feel the pain of not being on the podium and like, okay, you have to work hard now and
to get it back, I think for us, most Malaysians, I mean, bagi contohnya like my parents, whenever they mention your name, say, oh, she's champion, they see you on the podium. Then the second time, of course, they see you is your bowling, But to hear your background, all this is so remarkable, such an interesting insight to your mental regime and your journey towards becoming a full-fledged athlete and a coach. Interesting. So interesting. Yeah. Okay. So now that you are like going into coaching and even now you're still an athlete with contracts and all that. So far, your observation, what is your observation pertaining to the impact of the current pandemic and lockdown on your athletes' contracts and also your athletes' sponsorship? You have any comment or your observation?
Well, from my observation, actually, we're quite lucky here in Malaysia because, like for example, for us, we're supposed to sign our new contracts this year for the Podium program in April, but then the MCO happened, so tak boleh lah kan April. So MSN has managed to secure us until June.
I see.
So at least you don't have to worry about because most athletes don't earn a lot anyway, so it's quite a burden for them. So at least now they can rest easy and just focus on like for me before the MCO, I was focusing on my rehabilitation because I had some old injuries that I need to take care of. So I was focusing on that. So to get ready for my professional circuit on tour, which was supposed to start next week in April. So I was planning to go to the States. So I think it just depends on you, and we're quite lucky because we don't have to worry about that. But I have friends all across the world where they don't have the benefits or the security that Malaysian athletes have. So it's quite hard for them. So they're still like in limbo. I mean, luckily most of their contracts have started in January for some that's under sponsorship and all things. So they have to find ways to put in and clock in the time. So they do webinars, they do live streaming, they do a lot of other things that you can do, like, because I think I think the answer is like a blessing in disguise. I mean, especially for someone like me. So like who's so used to having such a really fast paced life, where I mean, you've seen me, like sometimes nak buat appointment pun susah, because like I try and do so many things. I know it's kind of not, I mean, sometimes it's not good, but like I feel like there's so many things that I can learn, because I help out in our association, in the development of the sport also in my own state in Selangor, and then with the athletes commission, because I see a lot of our rights are not really taken care of. So I try and help there. So like bits and pieces everywhere. But it's interesting. It's interesting because I think everything is, although it's bits and pieces everywhere, everything's kind of related to what my passion is, which is sport and bowling especially. Yeah. So I think it depends. You can put in different ways for your contract. Like for us, we have to put in as an athlete, you have to put in like 20 hours a week or 30 hours a week. So instead of just bowling, you can do other stuff that's related to bowling as well. As in sponsorship wise, it's quite hard because, like, for example, we're supposed to have the professional circuit that was supposed to ladies pro tour in the States in April. So everything's postponed. Everything's postponed to, I don't know, to a later date. So all the sponsorships and everything that's tied in with that, it's kind of in limbo. So it's kind of hard to really like have a specific date or like, thing to like say, oh no, we're going to start. But like luckily for us, like in MTBC, we were able to postpone the tournaments, because it also relates to tournaments, like just now the professional circuit. So we managed to postpone the Malaysian Open from March to November, but we still don't know whether November is gonna go on or not, because we have quite a lot of tournaments in November, December. But yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Basically,
I was just wondering. Yeah. Thanks. I like the way you explain your contract with the Podium, and many people may not realize that most athletes in Malaysia, they cannot sustain themselves unless they have a steady flow of income. Most of the sports association are not wealthy, so the government stepped in. The Podium program. There's also the Kita Juara program. The Podium program used to be under ISN, and then now it's under MSN. And then I think
a lot of reshuffling.
So I hope they do reshuffle again with the new government now. We'll and see. Now, but has anybody approached you, for example, like any lawyers approach you, or any company approach you, they want to cancel the deal, they want to maybe review the contract? So far, have you gone through that?
So far, I'm quite fortunate. Tak ada lagi. Everyone has been really positive, because one of my main sponsors for a long time, like 20 over years, is Tom, and they're from the States. So far everybody's still very positive, because it's not only happening to just one country, it's happening all across the world. So I think it's kind of a global thing.
Okay, excellent. So moving from there, I suppose don't you think eventually in the long term, Shalin, I think this entire lockdown and the pandemic may have a negative effect on professional athletes in terms of their contract and whatnot. Don't you think so, that may happen?
Yeah, I think that the possibility is there. Yeah, it depends on your sponsor. So that's why I think my other friends, like professional bowlers, are doing something else to supplement and try and do this and try and attack it in a different angle. I think that's why they're doing, like I said, like the FB Live, webinars, like still getting in touch with the fans and the public, but just in a different way. Probably in a better way, because I mean, if when you go and read in the papers, if you win, you're the hero. If you lose, you're the bum. But this one, there's no competition, so you can, like, it's an advantage for the fans too, so that you can get in touch with with a bowler that you idolize, that you like, an athlete that you like, and ask them questions. Where before they were so busy competing from tournament to tournament that they don't have time. Probably the answers you get is like short answers. Like for me, I reply all my social media personally. So sometimes it gets a long reply. Sometimes it gets a short reply. So like now, because you have more time, so I think you get to really know your fans and like know your environment around you. But you need to stay positive, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think what your colleagues in the pro bowler and yourself are doing on fan engagement.
Yeah.
It's one aspect of law we deal with. It's called fan engagement.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's the word.
fantastic.
Fan
So, yeah,
engagement.
fan engagement. Yeah, I follow your Instagram, and I know you do respond. You click like on people's comment. Of course, those people
Yeah. And I
comment
cope.
bodoh. There will be some silly comments. I can see
Yeah, but
the troll.
yeah, but that's normal lah. I mean, you can't have the best of everything unless you just off your comments and just like show people what they want to see. But without, I mean, that's life. But you just have to take the good with the bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
For me.
unfortunately. Okay, I
Yeah.
love your comment so far. Well done. So effectively, to summarize so far, your observation is that for personally, internally in bowling looks okay. Those who are under Podium program can sustain until June, and then you are reviewing things. Even tournaments are being pushed to November. And I
Yeah.
can, because our next issue was the effect on tournaments. So just nice, we'll come to that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I also noticed that your sponsors are still loyal to you. Well done. I think they're doing the
Yes,
correct thing.
I'm quite fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
what you're doing on social media is showing your cooking for you personally. I think that's good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes people relate to you. People will realize that
Yeah.
you're not just a bowler, you're also a mummy, you're a chef,
Yeah.
so
Home chef.
home chef. Even like our
Yeah.
Sharon V also now going to cooking,
Yeah.
Nyonya, and then she
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
so funny. She said, I never cook in my life. Now I'm cooking this.
See, that's what I mean. Like you have time to do all the things that you say. Oh, I wish I had time to do that. I wish I had time to do that. And now you have the time. So it's time for you to go through like on your list. Like even for me, like when I started, I think after the first week, I'm like, okay, you have your normal routine that you go through. You wake up, blah, blah, because it's like Groundhog Day. Like it's the same day repeating over and over again. So like I had a list. Okay, so what do I need to do? So now I have time to actually like Marie Kondo my house and like clean this part. Okay, today I'm gonna clean this room, then so on. So just keep yourself busy with stuff. And like I bought like paint by numbers kit so that me and my daughter can paint together, like all sorts of small stuff that just keep you occupied. And as the day goes on, and after a while you don't really realize it. But yeah, I think for me it's been good. But I know for some people it might be hard, but you have to find something that you wish you did before when you didn't have time, and take the opportunity and do it now.
Yeah, excellent. Very good advice. Yeah, I think your friend here posed a really good question since you're an issue of contract.
Yeah.
She just asked a general question. Hi, Linio. Shalin,
Linio.
Linio.
Yeah.
She wants to know whether is the Athletes Commission taking any steps in the current moment during MCO. Any comments, Shalin?
Well, currently, actually, we were actually planning because me, Jack from Wushu, and oh my God, what's her name? The shooter, three of us, because we are the president, vice president, deputy. I haven't seen them for a long time. Nama pun tak ingat. Teruk betul. Anyway, so we were planning on the programs that because we just took over the so-called new committee, I think in January or late last year. So all of us are quite new, and we are current athletes because they made some changes to the terms of reference to be able to be members of the Athletes Commission. So three of us are quite new. So like last year, Jack was able to go to the IOC to actually listen to the talks given by all the top athletes and management. And then I went to Lake Placid last year for the Athlete 365 seminar, which was really interesting because like suddenly I got to know like, oh, okay, there's a lot of things that we can do to help the athletes. Because before I was just a member in the Athletes Commission, but I don't really know. Sometimes you think like, okay, how can we help the athletes to be better? So like I got a lot of new ideas and we were discussing it. And then suddenly MCO happened. So we're still planning everything right now. Depending on when the MCO is lifted, we do plan to have like at least 2 or 3 activities for the athletes. But my committee and I, we did get in touch with some of the athletes earlier during the MCO to ask whether everybody's okay, and like we also got updates from MSN and ISN on the athletes who was able to stay on and who had to go back. But now everyone's back home because that's also quite an important aspect. Because as you know, one of the athletes was suspected positive and so on. So actually we were, before the MCO started, we were trying to get the word out about the Athletes Commission and like trying to get in touch with athletes to tell them that, you know, if you have any problems or anything, you can get in touch with any one of us. So that's what we've been doing, or like trying to start up the Athletes Commission again. Yeah.
In fact, I recall your predecessor, Nora Silla. I remember.
Yeah, Silla. Yes.
Silla, yeah. She was also very active in the Athletes Commission. And then I think I recall she also tried to do. In fact, she did some stuff. I think you just took this. Maybe as an idea, Shalin, maybe you can get some of the athletes to record a video and tell people stay home, you know, don't go out. Or, you know,
Actually, that's a good idea.
Ramadan is coming, so you can, you know, ucapkan kita berpuasa kat rumah, jangan keluar, you know, that kind of
that's
stuff.
That's a good idea.
Maybe. Just I think people like, see, imagine when Chong Wei, he came out in the early days of the MCO, in his Instagram, he was talking, you know, and he told people in Mandarin, say, hey, look, stay home, you know, so there's impact, you know, people listen to you guys. So maybe some idea for you. Then,
that's good.
Okay, so moving on from there, thank you for the question, Linio. I think you can hear that actually the plans are already in place. Unfortunately, the MCO affected the work. And I think the Athletes Commission, they need to meet face-to-face. They are not the kind of commission which can work online, you know, on. So they have to go face-to-face, you know, But, and I think people tend to forget, people in the Athletes Commission, they are first athletes. And then the commission is the second one.
It's really hard. Actually, it's really hard to do both because you're still an active athlete, but we're trying our best. And actually, even in Lake Placid, like there's a lot of things that we can do to help athletes in the enhancing their what do you call it? They don't call it retirement. The transitional process from being an athlete to being an ex-athlete or retiree. From sport. So actually, we were planning on doing activities that help athletes, like social media and everything, because as we can see now, like social media numbers are everything. So once athletes have that number, it's gonna be easier for them to find sponsorship and so on. So that's one of the other things that we were looking at as well, to help athletes promote themselves. And in the IOC's Athletes 365 program, they even have like ready-made templates where athletes can go and like to do their CV, and there's also like courses that they can attend. Of course, there's other like Olympians, they have their own Olympic association where actually they offer jobs, like I think 10,000 jobs or something like that to Olympians who had qualifications and so on. So there's a lot of things that we don't know, which was an eye-opener for me when I went to Lake Placid. So trying to get that information and trying to see which we can apply in our own environment. So it's not as easy as we thought it was, but it's a work in progress.
It takes time because the Athletes Commission is under OCM, and then I think we all know that you also have to deal with the people in OCM. All of them, of course, most of the OCM people, they want to the country to win and all that, but there's always some
Yes,
stakeholders' interest, blah blah blah.
yes, yes,
Now, all the
yes, yes,
challenges that you have to go through. But no, we'll be
yes,
with you.
yes,
If you need help, there's always people out there. In fact, talking about retirement, Shalin, I remember our
yeah,
national swimmer, retired national swimmer, Jeffrey Ong.
yes,
He was actually advocating on this very
yes.
strongly, and of course, he's a member
Yes.
of the Olympic Society.
Olympic, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So he's also helping there. Very interesting to hear two of you saying the similar things about
Yeah,
helping.
actually we talk
Mm.
about this quite a bit also. Me, Jeffrey, Nurul Huda, Sharon. Because all of us we we have our own WhatsApp group and stuff, so we do keep in touch and voice our opinions and just like a soundboard to each other to see, what do you think about this, what do you think about that? Because I think it's good to have a lot of different types of opinions to see different aspects of a certain issue. I mean, otherwise, because sometimes when you're an athlete, you're so used to being so focused and just one dimensional. So sometimes you don't see other parts of or other solutions to the problem. So once you have different ideas, I think it's a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. I like how you approach it. We've got a comment here. It's not really a question. I think your friend Khalil Lau, he said that the Athletes Commission should start a fund for the former and current athletes if they're affected. I think it's a good idea, something for you to chew on.
Yeah, that one should be under Yakib actually, I think. Because
Yayasan,
Yakib gets Yayasan Atlet Kebangsaan, bekas atlet kebangsaan. Because Yakib is the one that handles all ex-athletes pleas or financial difficulties. But like for example, like us, the Athletes Commission, I think it's kind of hard because we don't have much funds. Basically, we have no funds, not much funds. So like we have to use what we can. But that is a good idea. Probably we can discuss
Maybe
further.
collaborate. Yeah, maybe you can collaborate
with someone. Yeah, to discuss further on that. But yeah, that's a good idea as well. Yeah.
Well, any good ideas can always be considered. Of course, whether we can do it is another matter.
Yes, that's true. The implementation is different, but at least you tried. That's the thing. Yeah.
We have an interesting question here from Razif, and I think you can relate to this, Shalin. I remember you asking me this question. I remember you asking Leslie and me this personal question. We were like, "Oh no, what is your opinion about the maternity leave issue?" This is just general comment. I don't want people later, or the reporter to attack Shalin. This is just Shalin's general comment. What is your general observation and comment about this?
My general observation and being a mom and going through this personally, I think it's not fair. It's not fair for female athletes to have to choose whether you want to still compete or whether you have to choose either one. I think you still can do both, but you need a lot of support. Because if you see our stats from our winnings, medal tallies in all the official games, I believe most of them come from female athletes. If you see, so I think it's a bit unfair to just cut off female athletes when they are pregnant or they are not able to compete. At least give them an option to come back if they want to, and not just cold turkey and cut them off, because I think they still are able to contribute to the country in terms of medals, tallies, and so on. Like as you see, Suryani from shooting, she was competing until she was eight months pregnant. Unfortunately, for bowling, I can't still throw the ball when I was 8 months because my I kind of swallowed one bowling ball in my tummy. The bowling ball was too big for me. I can't balance at the foul line. But yeah, I mean, I mean, you have to, I think they should be more open, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of my friends from one of the neighboring countries told me that for the athletes from their country, they had an option where, if they come back, they still are able to get the same allowance and so on from the government. So I think the option should be there. Whether they take it or not is still up to them. But just cutting straight away that way, I don't think that's a really good option, because then then they won't be people like me who's still competing at in their 30s or 40s. I know for certain people they think athletes need to be young and all those things, but sometimes being an athlete that used to be young and being an athlete now, I've been able to grasp the whole picture, and I think both have their own advantages that they bring in. But when you're young, you're fearless. You just bantai and do everything you want. But when you're older, you're more experienced. You try and approach things differently so that you don't make silly mistakes and so on. So I think we have to add that option in our contracts. And I know, it's true. I did give Richard and Leslie a hard time about that. Yeah, because I asked because I've gone through it, and they say, oh, it's okay, after your pregnancy, you can come back. But it did not happen because we didn't have it in black and white. So I wanted to make sure the next contract we signed, we had it in black and white.
Because,
because at the end of the day, not every athlete is like Lee Chong Wei or Nicole. There's a lot of athletes out there that only earn like 500 ringgit a month or less, So you have to think about them as well, because maybe their only source of income is the allowance from being an athlete. So when you cut that off, you're a dad. When you're going to start a family, when your wife's going to give birth, the expenses goes up. So like when this happens, it kind of like some people can go into depression, or like they feel really pressured because of what happened. So it's kind of hard place for you to put them in. Agreed. After all their sacrifices. Maybe if you don't want to give everyone the benefit, maybe you can say, okay, if you're maybe you can say, okay, those who've won reach a certain level, or won maybe podium finish in the Asian Games or SEA Games and so on, only will get this benefit. So in a way, you'll get athletes to work hard to reach that level, so that they will have that opportunity, instead of just cutting them down, say, no, okay, you're pregnant, okay, bye.
I'm actually quite glad that this topic came out, Shalin, for discussion. And thank you to the gentleman who asked us. So some short background to all those listeners, because Shalin mentioned my colleague and my name a few times. We were the lawyers for the Podium program when he was under ISN. And I recall now, as you know, Leslie has moved on from Richard V. Chambers. So good luck to Leslie, also national athlete. And she came and asked me, said, boss, Shalin Zulkifli asked about this. So my first reaction was, Shalin? I said, alamak. I said, okay. So we went through the contract. Then, of course, as you must understand, Leslie and I, we inherited the contract from somebody else. The first people who adopted it. So we had to review it, and then we tweak it and added in KPI for sports. We didn't want the athlete to be, for example, deselected because the coach tak suka muka you. So we added in KPI. It happened exactly. So we want to make sure that if you get deselected, it's because there is a scientific reason for it. There is a KPI. So we added a clause in. And then when it came to maternity, we had to listen to the association and keep the ISN's view. And I remember the Minister of Sports, he was pro-athlete and he wanted to help the athlete. So I remember there was a midway truce between you. But anyway, it was a good point. And I think you're right. I think we must stop looking at pregnancy as an injunction. That's illegal, as a way to stop an athlete growing. I think it's wrong. I think it actually enhances the athlete's desire to be better, because now they're a mother. So
Yeah, I want you to go. But like for example, like you go and see, I think athletics, uh, countries from the USSR before, they used to get female athletes pregnant because they wanted that hormone or something like that to make them perform
Yeah,
better. You
yeah, the
know,
other way around. Yeah,
yeah. So much like, and I think it's an open topic, but I think if the athletes can see that you're really into their welfare, they'll perform a lot better for you. I think,
yeah.
yeah.
The funny thing is, Shalin, the issue of under sports law, the issue of discrimination and imbalanced treatment between gender is quite common. And of course, generally
Mm.
the gender issue is always against ladies, but there have been some
Yeah,
mistreatment against male also. But
men.
very few, very small, but more against ladies. So, contohnya, now the biggest case we are following is the US football soccer team.
Mm.
The women's soccer team is suing the US Football Association for unfair treatment, discriminatory treatment between the men and women. As we all know, the women US team is the best in the world. They're world champion many
Yes,
times.
yes, many times. Yeah.
But they don't get treatment like the men. So they are suing
Yeah.
the case, and as lawyers, we are studying the case to see the impact,
Ah,
and then we will apply
yeah.
here. Yeah. So
That's
I
good. That's
even
good.
wrote an article about this, waiting for it. And just to let you know, again for football, in Australia, the Australian Football Association has agreed to give equal pay to men and women players. So these are all the beginning. I think we're beginning to see the change of trend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to give equal treatment irrespective. So
Mm.
okay, let's quickly go to the next issue. Very short one. What is the
Okay.
impact on tournaments so far, Charlie? Has all the tournament been postponed, and what do you think will be the effect of all these postponements?
Well, so far, all the tournaments have been postponed. Because we have the World Bowling Tour, we're supposed to have our Asian Championships. Everything has been postponed indefinitely. So it's quite interesting to see what will happen later on. Either everything will be jam packed at the end of the year, or everything will be postponed to next year, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm.
And then,
Yeah.
as you know, we saw our our health minister. Oh no, sorry, the
Yeah.
DG of the health ministry.
DJ.
He made it very clear that we should not have any activities until the year
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So I think for the first
And
time in my life, I'm now 47 years old. I can't remember the first 5 years of my life. But you know what, Charlie? For the first time, first 5 months, tahu kita budak lagi. But for the first,
betul.
but for the first time in my life, I cannot go to the pasar bazaar for berbuka puasa now. You know, my favorite.
Dilema. Yeah. My favorite too.
love,
Because during fasting month, during Ramadan, like everybody likes to go to the bazaar because every sort of food that you can think of is there. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why like this year everybody's like, oh, okay. So that's why this year everybody's like downloading the app or
Food delivery,
going through Facebook, delivery or YouTube to see, okay, how do I cook my favorite food? Yeah. Like me,
You're right.
like me.
Like you lah, yeah, I saw,
Yeah, like me.
So anyway, sorry. I was just thinking about all this postponement. We can't gather. So I suppose
Yeah.
even like bowling. Do you think it's possible, Charlene, to have bowling tournaments with some element of social distancing, no spectator, but still broadcast live on TV? You think it can be done?
Yes.
It can. Bowling, I think can.
Bowling, bowling can. Because one, sad to say, we don't have a lot of spectators
Spectators,
like
okay.
soccer, and because I mean it's just the truth. But we can modify, like for example, usually like, there's 4 people to a pair of lanes, which we can change to 2 people to a pair of lanes to help with the social distancing. So I think for bowling it's quite manageable if everything was okay and we were to host the Malaysian Open or the World Bowling Tour at the end of the year.
Because I was just looking at sports, like Agila Sukan. So of course some sports a bit difficult to do like for example boxing, or martial arts. Macam mana nak buat
MMA.
social distancing? MMA.
So MMA, dia nak pergi rent an island so that they can go and compete there.
I
But
saw
I
that.
mean,
I saw that.
it's different perspective, because his perspective is from an organizer point of view, because yeah lah, I mean, a lot of the sponsors committed quite a large sum of money for TV rights and so on. So it's kind of touchy, I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
Depends
I know. Because
case to case.
even for soccer, football, there has been some contemplation of moving the tournament to an isolated place, and then the player. But my point is, even the players need social distancing.
Yeah.
So like bowling not so bad. You got alley, so every lane,
Yeah.
one player,
One
one lane.
person. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
you stay near, stay far, stay away. Then there's still an opportunity, isn't it, for
Yes.
the
Yes.
tournament?
There is.
So, yeah, I think bowling can survive. Post lockdown.
Yeah. I think we can. Yeah. If we plan properly. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's the funny thing? Because everyone is bored, we're all stuck at home. And if you broadcast it live, and now with the camera angle, you can even put a drone while the
Yeah.
bowl. Maybe you can put a drone over it, right? You never
Yeah.
know. People may actually want to watch bowling more.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
I think people must realize, always in times of trouble like this, opportunity comes, and it is
Yes.
this kind of time that you must try new things.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So all this is very, very interesting. So, my Leslie is asking questions, so we'll come to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically tournaments are cancelled. There is a possibility that tournament may not take place anymore, and both you and I are discussing about the possibility of holding a bowling tournament without spectator and with social distancing.
Yeah.
Mana tahu?
Yes. Yes.
All
I
right.
think that's possible, actually. Yeah.
You should do it, Shalin. Go to MTBC, be the first bowling in the world to do it. Yeah, Malaysia, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you
We have to wait
contact,
until the MCO
yeah,
listed first. Yeah. Yeah.
you know what, Shalin? I think if you call Sunway Pyramid and say, look, I nak buka tournament sekarang, they will say, please come. Nobody coming here, please. Please come.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, think about it. But so
Yeah.
on the note, it's only 1:55. We're coming to an end, and then we
Oh.
answer some general questions. Yeah, so
Yeah.
very fast, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
A very short one. Shalin, I read somewhere for World Anti-Doping Agency, despite the world lockdown, there is still ongoing doping tests, and there's still ongoing doping screening. Do you have any general comments about anti-doping exercises?
Well, I think that's a part of being an athlete that is really important, because as you've seen some in the last few official games, we lost and won some of our medals through doping. So it's, as an athlete, sometimes they think it's something that's quite boring, doping, because you have to go through the procedure every time before we go for major games. We have to sign a code of conduct, saying that, okay, you must do this, do that, so that know your rights. But then sometimes, as an athlete, we're so focused, like I told you, we're so focused on just one aspect, we forget the other part. Because I think doping is really important. Because even if you win, but then if you cheat and take drugs, you're not going to get that gold medal. It's just going to bring more damage to you in terms of I know some people think no news is bad news, but as an athlete, you're supposed to promote a healthy lifestyle and all those things. So it kind of like conflicts with what you are and what you're trying to tell the kids that idolize you. If they see, oh, so it's okay to take drugs and cheat and win, that's not the thing that you want to promote to the kids. A healthy lifestyle and those are the things that you want to promote. So as athletes, so far I've been okay. Because I've like over almost 30 years, because I'm very particular about what I put in my mouth and what I eat, because sometimes we don't know. So that's why every single supplement or anything that I'm not sure of, or that's not given by ISN or MSN, I don't take it. Because like, for example, like slimming products, they have things in there that
Yeah,
it's
must be careful.
okay for, yeah, that's okay for normal people, but not for athletes. So
Yeah.
because even like if you drink coffee, like for example, um if you drink more than 12 cups of coffee, I think your result, it might taint your result as well. So those type of things, like small things that you didn't realize that are important. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like for example, like Adamas, and also we get letters also like saying that we have to sign saying that okay, you can be randomly checked at any time, this
Mm.
kind of thing. So you have to be ready all the time. It's not okay, I'm off season, so I can eat what I want. In terms of food, yes, but not like supplements. You have to be careful what you put
Very
in your
careful.
mouth because you are responsible. You can't blame everyone else. I say, oh, it's not my fault. Somebody gave me that drink or something, But you
Yeah.
are the one who took it and like drank it. So the responsibility, part of it is also yours, not only the person giving it. But because if
Mm.
you know yourself that you're not supposed to take anything, so no, I'm not going to take anything if a drink, because I'm the one who's going to mix the drink, not someone
Mm.
else giving it to me, kind of thing. Just
Yeah.
awareness, I think. Awareness, yeah.
Yeah, I think your message is very clear. Stay safe, be careful, be responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like your message. Yeah.
Yeah.
So because despite the lockdown, many people don't realize that the professional athletes are still subjected to testing, and
Yes, we are.
and yeah, so you have to be careful with what we are consuming at home. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
well done. And I mean, doping is a dry area, is what you say. But
Yes.
unfortunately, it's something all professional athletes need to go through. In
Yes.
fact, we have a
Yes.
question here, and I'll answer that for as a lawyer. It says that the recent doping, the Malaysian weightlifting athletes has been banned from Tokyo. I don't comment too much because I think, to be fair, the Weightlifters Association have their own challenges. But I suppose
Yeah.
this is something the Weightlifters Association may want to take up against the Olympic. And I understand there could be litigation here, but the Olympic has been postponed to 2021, so we'll never know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can try again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's true.
Okay, so that's doping. So we'll come to some Q&A now. It's already 2 o'clock. I think everybody wants to go for lunch, or they want to go for afternoon nap. But, so some interesting question here. I think my ex-colleague Leslie, she asked about this. I think Novak Djokovic recently said on social media that he's opposed to the idea of mandatory coronavirus vaccine, just simply to resume international travel if the vaccine requirement or a vaccine requirement becomes an option. Any thoughts about it? I think what Leslie is saying is that Novak doesn't like the idea of mandatory to inject us just for us to go travel. I think he wants to make sure that everything is fine before we do it. Because I think if we take this injection, do you know, Shalin, it may affect you as an athlete because it may be tested positive.
Yes.
You
Yes.
don't know the
Yes.
vaccine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know actually what is in the vaccine. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's a double-edged sword. I think it's kind of related to like what some people don't believe in vaccines for kids. Some
Correct.
parents
Correct.
don't believe in vaccines for kids. So I think it's kind of related to that. But I think
Yeah.
it should be both. But you, as a person, as an athlete going to compete, you have to be responsible as well to make sure that you don't infect people. So I think it's kind of like it goes both ways. I think, yeah.
Yeah. I think for the professional athletes like you, I'm sure your association and your advisors will be very careful, like Novak, before you simply take the vaccine. Yes,
Yeah.
of course, the vaccine is supposed to save our life, but
Yeah.
it also may affect your career. Suddenly,
Because
every time you test positive, mati.
yeah, because like for us, we won't take the vaccine unless it's endorsed by ISN.
Correct.
Any vaccines that we take, it has to be endorsed by ISN. Like the vaccine that we took before we went for the Asian Games in Jakarta. Yeah. So and Philippines.
And
So yeah.
for those who are not familiar with Malaysian sports, I noticed there's some foreigners here. ISN is a National Sports Institute, and that is the institute predominantly focused on sports science and sports medicine, sports excellence. they are slightly different from MSN. MSN deals with athletes, training, coaching, etc., etc. Yeah. So okay, there is also a comment from Razif. He has another comment before we wrap things up. So, do you think the pension scheme should be given to non-Olympic games? What is your
I'm
general?
biased here.
Of course, the answer is yes, right?
Yes.
But on a serious note, Shalin, I actually agree with this. Of course, subject to budget. I think the government must not forget that yes, the police they work for us, the nurse they work for us, but the athletes they cry for us, they hurt for us, they train for us, and when the athletes win, we win, So I think the government, and to be fair, that in recent years, the last 10, 20 years, the government always invests heavily in sports. Maybe they should also invest in this.
Yes, I think it will help sports as a whole, because then parents will be more receptive to allowing their kids to be sportsmen if they have all the other benefits, like when they work in the government sector, for example. Because if you go back to all the seniors, they always like, oh, you must try and work in the government sector because you have pension, right? Yeah. So no matter what happens, you still have that security. So it's the same thing as athletes as well. I think you can, like what Razi said, you can set a certain criteria that they have to meet to be able to qualify. I think if you set that, everybody's going to work harder towards that instead of just saying no. And that will, in other words, will give a positive ripple effect and have more athletes win because they want to be in that category. Like right now, we only have Olympic athletes getting the pension. Like for me, I've been competing for almost three-quarters of my life, but because I'm a non-Olympic sport, and even though I've won like 6 world championships, I don't get the same benefits. It's kind of sad, but yeah.
Maybe they have to review that in the long term. I mean, we all understand.
I hope they review it.
Kita semua faham that kerajaan, of course, or the sports association, they put at Olympics at the high level. But for tournaments like squash, bowl. I mean, imagine, Shalin, if you and Nicole David could play in Olympics for Malaysia, wow, we'll be multiple gold medalists, we'll be, or at least a podium, at least a podium. Top 3, And
that was one of my bucket list.
So anyway, that's something for us to consider. Thank you for the question, Razif. And then for the last one, not a comment, not a question. Again, Khalil came up with a very, I would say, a plausible idea. Thank you, Khalil. He gave the idea to you that the commission may even try to collaborate with private companies for job placement. I think you mentioned this. To be fair, you did mention this. So something. I think in the long term, the Athletes Commission can do this.
Actually, I think my predecessors before me, Sheila and everything, they actually did do that. And they actually did the AC career program where it's done yearly. And athletes is done by ADECO, which is assigned by the IOC. And unfortunately, whenever we do those fairs, the athletes don't really show up.
Alamak.
So it's kind of sad, but we are trying to reignite that again to make sure we get more athletes to know, because sometimes, like I told you, the problem with us athletes, sometimes we're so focused on training and they don't care about what's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and so on. So we have to educate our athletes to say, no, you have to prepare yourself for that, so that when you stop, you don't panic, you don't go into depression. I think from my seminar in Lake Placid last year, they did a survey saying that I think athletes go into depression the first 2 years after retirement. So so that's kind of a sad fact. So, but we have to prepare ourselves for that, and not just expect people to give us jobs just because we're an athlete. We need to upskill ourselves as well. which I see a lot of athletes doing now. We see a lot of athletes going to universities, with IPTA, IPTS. We see a lot of scholarships being given from IPTA, IPTS, which is good compared to what I had before. But it's an ongoing process, I think. And like, for example, I can't really comment on other sports, but for example, I use bowling as an example. We have a lot of MB Majlis Perbandaran yang contact ex-Sukma athletes, ex-national junior athletes to be a part of their company. So we have a lot of ex-athletes that's working for KWSP, working for LHDN, working for MBPJ, MBSA, all those things.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I think it's heading there. Unfortunately, it's not as fast as we would like, but I think it's a good start. And I see from a lot of like macam they have the Badan Berkanun and all those things. Those games also help the cause for athletes to be taken into the companies to work for them. Yeah.
Yeah, there is some change, and that's good.
Yeah.
Compared to the athletes from the 60s and 70s, after pension, lah.
Yeah.
And then most of them join Tenaga Nasional or bank.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the norm last time. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Well, we've come to a conclusion. We have a comment here. I think we will maybe a topic in the future, Shalin. We can discuss.
Oh yes. There'll be a long ongoing topic. But yeah, actually, I'm also part of the AC for our World Bowling. And me and two other athletes, we actually spoke to the new CEO of World Bowling last night actually, about our efforts to get bowling to the Olympics. But it's not an easy process. Yeah, it's not an easy process. But hopefully, you never know. Probably not in my lifetime, but probably in my future lifetime. But at least we try. Yeah.
Yeah, and on the matter, you should actually collaborate with Nicole Davids, and also even my ex-partner, they were involved in it for squash.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Bowling was close.
Yeah, but actually bowling should lah. It's everywhere in the world people play bowling. I don't understand. It's but it's about money lah. Sometimes sad to say lah. It's all about money.
Yes.
Okay. With that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic dialogue, more than an hour. We've got people coming in and out throughout the duration of the talk. I think I wouldn't be surprised this talk will reach a few thousand people. Normally, all the Facebook on RWC, all have gone more than 1,000 viewers.
Wow.
So thank you. It's always been, so it's always...
congratulations.
Thank you. But it's also the testament of the speaker lah. The speakers are good. So we just, busy. So, can I get everybody here to give a cyber round of applause for Shalin Zulkifli? What a world champion. Thank you very much for spending 1 hour with us. Shalin, would you like to maybe have last say? You're welcome. Any maybe last comment, last say, any message you want to send to everybody out there?
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. And if you are not bored of me talking, you can come on my Facebook page tomorrow, because me and Sharon will be doing a session as well. Sharon Wee, the squash player, will be doing another session as well on just general talk, kind of like a talk show session, just to get everybody's moods up and so on. But just want to thank Richard, RWC again for the opportunity. Although we were not able to do it there at RWC, but we managed still to have it online. So it's always nice to talk and share opinions with you and with everyone. And I hope that, with them and listening to our talks and everything, they would understand our perspective as well as an athlete, so they can get the other side of the coin here.
Yeah, thank you. And I will say that a lot, because all of us only see athletes when they play the game, when they win, or sometimes when they lose. It is always very interesting to listen to your views and your comments outside the game. You know, it's very intriguing, and it's also good for the young athletes, the future budding, the young boy and young girl. When they listen to you, I hope they get inspired. I hope
so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am inspired. It's always an honor. As I said, even though I do sports law, but when I meet people like Shalin, I get into a fanboy, you know, like, oh, Shalin, you know. So, thank you so much, Shalin, for I'll say this. I don't know whether many people, I'm sure you've heard this before, but let me say this, that thank you for serving the country. Thank you for representing us. Thank you for fighting for us all the time to put our needs.
Thank you.
We hope your career will continue blossoming and do well.
Thank you. Those are the things that I live for. Like for people randomly out of nowhere thanking me, those mean a lot to me, I think. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah. You're welcome. Keep it up, man. Untuk negara demi Malaysia. Yeah. Okay, everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Stay safe. Bye-bye, everybody.
Stay at home. Bye.
Take care.